My name is Lon Safko, co-author of the Social Media Bible, published by John Wiley & Sons, the largest book ever written on the subject of social media. Today we're here with Eric Rhodes, the Senior Vice President, Worldwide Strategy and Market Development for Constant Contact, and we'll be speaking more today about social media and specifically about email and email marketing. And I got to tell you, really, I just love your company. I've been using it for years. I'm a strong proponent. And the one thing that I really have to say even before we start the interview is that you really brought integrity to this market.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun.
So could you kind of tell our listeners a little bit about who you are, what you do at Constant Contact, and more importantly, what is Constant Contact?
Sure. Constant Contact's the leading provider of email marketing and online survey services to the small business and organizational market. And our services basically enable our customers to build long-term relationships with their customers, their clients, or their members through ongoing professional communications.
I like that, professional communications. Mm-hmm. And that's really true. Again, the whole integrity issue that I have about Constant Contact is no spamming, no harvesting. It's a class act.
Well, thanks. And yeah, it really is all about building relationships with the people that already know you. That's what the power of email marketing is all about. And it's email is not designed. Email marketing is not really designed as an acquisition tool. Although if you do it right, you tend to get a lot of word of mouth referral business. But it's really designed as a way to build and nurture existing relationships to the point where you can bring your customers back time after time. And it's highly effective in doing that and very cost effective.
And when you talk about email marketing, it's really changed quite a bit over the last couple of years. What kind of changes have you seen in this industry and this type of marketing tool?
Well, in the old days, it used to be that it was okay just to create an email campaign and slap it into Outlook and blast it out to everybody that you knew, and hopefully you weren't putting their email addresses in the to line. You were hiding them in the BCC line. But a lot's changed since then. Email marketing has really become viewed as a really professional way to reinforce your brand with your customers, and it's important to look professional in the delivery, to be putting in really valuable content so that your readers are looking forward to opening it. We always sort of challenge, we do a lot of education on the topic, and we sort of challenge our customers to be writing content that is so valuable that when the recipient receives it, that they have a folder in their email box just for that company. And, the content is so good that they want to hold on to it and keep it. And it's really changed and revolutionized the way that email marketing is used by businesses, because it's no longer just I'm going to blast it out and try and drive immediate business. It's all about how do I send out a communication that builds my reputation with my customers so that they want to come back. And everybody's getting so much email these days that it's important to rise above sort of the chaff and everything that's out there. And the way to do that is to write really good content and to demonstrate your knowledge. And let's face it, small business owners go into business because they are experts. And sharing that expertise that they have with their customers, it turns out to be one of the most powerful ways that you can actually market your business.
And that's interesting that you would emphasize content again. We interviewed the 2007 SEO World Champion, and I was trying to get the tools and techniques and tips. How did you win? And he just kept coming back to content is king. And
Yep.
David Meerman Scott, who just wrote a recent book of the new marketing and PR, again, the whole thing is about content, that if you provide the good what's in it for me for your customers, a good takeaway, that you will build a loyal following.
Yeah, and it seems like it's very hard to create good content, but in fact, when we sit down and we do our educational seminars or online webinars with small business owners, and we really get to asking them questions about their business, they realize that they've got a lot of content already in the bag. For example, if you ask a business owner, and you say, well, what are the 3 most frequently asked questions that your customers ask you? And, they write them down and say, okay, well, that's content. Oh, really? Oh, okay, I could do that. And the funny thing is, if somebody asks you an interesting question and you write it down and you use it in your newsletter and you give them attribution and say, hey, Joey, my new customer, tried to stump me with this one, and here's the answer to the question that he had. And, oh, by the way, if you want to try and stump me, submit your questions to me at this email address. Now all of a sudden you've got your readers not only invested in reading your campaign, but in giving you content ideas. So there's all kinds of great ways to come up with content that's actually engaging and fun. And, it's really important also to have your personality come through in your communications. You don't want to write it like you're in parochial school. You want to have some good fun with the content, and, your personality comes through, and that's what people are looking for. That's what, I enjoy reading when I get an email that's got that kind of flair to it.
Yeah, and that's kind of true. When I do my conferences around the country, I do email marketing, SEO, and now social media. I always say, ask the questions, because don't be shy. There's no such thing as a dumb question, because if you have that question, odds are everybody else in the room is thinking the same thing, but they just didn't raise their hand.
You bet.
And one of the other things that I just heard you say, which seems to also be a reoccurring theme in podcasting and blogs, is sincerity. That really comes across.
It does, and if you think about why people turn to a small business owner, it's because they have a relationship with them and they trust them. And trust in any relationship is built over time by sharing of valuable information, and that's all you're doing. If you're a restaurateur, it could be as simple as sharing a couple of your recipes. Now, people aren't necessarily going to go off and make them, but if they see the care and feeding that you put into the creation of the food that you're serving, well, boy, they're going to come back. And it could be as simple as finding a great wine that goes with that meal, and giving them ideas on how to, if you put too much salt into a recipe, how do you counteract that? It all makes you stand out as an expert. And there's just tons and tons of great content out there, and you just got to look around yourself. One of the hardest things for small businesses to do is to sometimes take 5 minutes and stop and just look at some of the things going on around them. And realize there's a lot of great content there, because we know, all small business owners are, the one resource that they don't have enough of is time. But boy, if they just take a step back and look around, there's lots of great content ideas for them.
And another thing that I just heard you say, great observation, is we're really, even with email, we're talking about building that trusted network.
Yep.
And that was one of the questions I got by the publishers at John Wiley & Sons. When I was doing the table of contents, I included a chapter specifically early on in the book just on email. And I keep getting asked this question, email, is that really part of social media? It's kind of old school. And I was like, no, my opinion is email is absolutely social media, because social media really is just about building those and maintaining those trusted networks.
Exactly. No matter what kind of social media tool you're using, they're all just different ways to establish and build relationships. And if you turn around and say, okay, well, what do you use most often to communicate with people that you know and trust? While certainly there are a lot of other things around, email marketing will probably stand up as number one now and for some time into the future.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Now, one of the questions that I often get asked at my conferences is, how come, I thought there was some legislation on not spamming, but I still get a lot of spam. Can you just kind of summarize what the Can-Spam Act is?
Sure. Well, the Can-Spam Act was enacted to really provide some teeth to the folks in law enforcement to go after people who are sending fraudulent email, and it does put forth a number of things that people who are sending email legitimately need to be aware of. A couple of those things are, you can't falsify your sending address or use a bogus email address to send from, and that's one of the reasons why when you use Constant Contact, you have to verify the sending email address you're sending from, just to make sure that you're in compliance with that. The other, another couple other things that you have to do is you have to have your physical address embedded in the actual body of the message, and that's one other thing that we basically put on there for you. One of the other pieces is that you have to provide your recipient with the ability to unsubscribe And we have a tool called it's Safe Unsubscribe, where within one click someone can remove themselves from the list. Right. Now, by the law, you have 10 days to remove them from your list, but if you're using Constant Contact, you don't even have to worry about that because we take care of that for you. And there are a couple other provisions within the CAN-SPAM Act, but those are the big ones.
And that's one of the things that I do teach people, that there are some penalty if somebody does get asked to be removed or unsubscribed. And really, using your service is kind of like somewhat of an insurance policy because it's fully automated, and you don't really have to worry about it or make the mistake of not taking that person off your mailing list.
Exactly. We make sure we take care of that for you. And if you re-upload a list, because you can just import and export lists freely within Constant Contact, you don't have to worry about those because we actually leave them in your database and we just flag them as do not mail. So, we've got you covered from that standpoint, that's for sure.
I absolutely love that part of it. Bounce back.
Huh?
Can you kind of address, and the reason I'm going to bring this up is that one of my companies, Paper Models, Inc., we've collected email addresses for the last 9 years, and we've never sent out an email. And one of the things that I insisted on as president and CEO is that we need to start building that relationship. So we sent out about a 12,000 name email list, and we had like a 40% bounce back rate because the emails were so old.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, you guys spanked me pink.
Yeah.
And I like that, and I was happy to see that. So can you mention a little bit about how you guys manage bounce backs?
Yeah, well, first of all, a couple of things you should know about permission. It's certainly perishable. If I say I would like to join your mailing list and I don't hear from you for 6 months, odds are I'm going to forget that I gave you permission to join your list, to mail to me. And so it's really important that if you are going to be doing email marketing and you are building a list of your customers, that you do communicate with them at least on a quarterly basis. So that said, when we send out email, it goes out into the Internet and gets delivered to an ISP or someone who is managing the email account for that recipient. And there are a number of reasons why email actually won't get to its end destination. One of them being that email address is no longer active, so that person has left or changed or shut down that email account, so it'll bounce back because of that. And those are what we call hard bounces. And it's important to kind of remove those from your account, but sometimes it's worthwhile to actually look through that list because there may be some nuggets of gold in there if you've got a champion of your business and you find out that they've actually left their position. Well, you better go find a new champion within that company, and also track down that person and see where they went, because you now have two potential customers. So those are the hard bounces, and then there's a number of reasons why things don't get delivered that are more soft bounces, if you will. One of those is that mail servers go up and down, and sometimes when you try and deliver, the message just can't get through, What we do is we actually try and mail over a 24-hour period a couple of times if we sense that to that email address. So sometimes it'll bounce back and say it wasn't deliverable, and it actually does get through because it just ended up in a cache on a mail server and flushed its way through over time. And then, sometimes mailboxes are full. And we bounce back based on that. We also capture the bounces that occur because someone sets their thing to vacation reply, and we all put them all into buckets for you so you can take action on them and understand what's going on with your delivery. But those are the primary reasons why things don't get delivered.
And another, I think, a good feature that you may want to just kind of mention here is whitelist, blacklist. Being associated with a company like yours, it's really important that you remain on the whitelist. Could you just kind of address that shortly?
Yeah, and the notion of those lists has sort of changed over time, or sort of the definition of those lists has changed over time. What is really important is that when you're sending your mail actually ends up in the inbox. And Constant Contact has a third party that actually monitors that on our behalf, and we know that we get about 98% delivery into the inbox in the United States. Wow. And we do that because we maintain relationships with the major recipients of email, and they know who we are, and they know we're very tough on anybody who is deemed to be an undesirable sender. And in fact, we do fire customers of ours every month who just want to push the envelope in terms of not really having full permission from their customers, because we've got over 200,000 customers that depend upon us to get their mail delivered, and we want to maintain that high delivery rate. So we will take people who don't meet our standards and ask them to leave on occasion. And sometimes just great people do silly things, and they'll go to a trade show and they'll collect a list and they'll have some problems with it. And we'll work with them to help them clean up their list and get rid of those trade show accounts where the person just stopped by to pick up the little tchotchke and wasn't really interested in the business. To clean out that list and get back onto good status with us. But, in some cases, people just push beyond what we're comfortable with, and we ask them to leave.
So, again, it's about integrity, and it gets back to the trusted network, because the network of ISPs around the United States has a trusted relationship with you because of your integrity.
And well, that's what we're hoping to build. We hope that the millions and millions of emails that go out each month with the Powered by Constant Contact logo at the bottom of it, we want every recipient to feel confident that not only is this person captured that name or got that email address legitimately, but if for some reason they want to be removed, they can click on that safe unsubscribe link and they'll be removed from that campaign, and not have to worry about that actually happening.
I like that. I really do. A lot of people ask me, is it difficult to start or to set up a Constant Contact email account? How do you actually, is it hard to do? What kind of tips would you give them to launch their first email?
Well, first of all, it's very simple to do. We provide a free 60-day trial for up to 100 email addresses. You can come in and set it up and use it. One of the other unique things about Constant Contact is we have our communications consultant team, where there's an 800 number right at the front of our website, and typically in big orange numbers, that you can call and say, hey, I'm trying to do this. Can you point me in the right direction and help me get started? So we've got a resource there that you can call any day. We have free customer support. If you have a technical question that you can call, it's an 800 number. It's on our nickel. Our CEO loves to say, I pay them to be here. Please call them. And they're just wonderful in helping people work through any technical issues they have. In addition to that, we have a lot of wonderful learning programs. Right on our website, there's a learning center. In there is a link to a daily product tour where in 45 minutes you can become an expert on how to use Constant Contact. We have one for email marketing. We have one for survey. We've got regional development directors in pretty much every major metro around the United States running seminars on a weekly basis on how to create an email marketing strategy for your business. We've got workbooks. We've got collateral. We got everything you can imagine.
Wow.
No matter how you want to learn how to do this, we'll be there to help you through it. And that's one of the things that I think really makes us unique, and it's one of the things that we think is very important to small to medium-sized businesses because, let's face it, they don't have a lot of bench strength, and we're here to be their bench strength when it comes to marketing to their existing customers.
Wow. And that's absolutely true. They can't go out and hire marketing firms to actually do this. They're in there rolling up their sleeves, actually learning it themselves and doing it themselves.
Yeah, and our price point starts at only $15 a month. So for less than they're spending on Starbucks coffee, they could be communicating with their customers. So, one of the biggest challenges a lot of them face is they don't yet have their customers' email addresses. Mm-hmm. And, one of the things that we give out at our seminars is a little sign-up book, especially useful for retail. But if you don't have that asset to communicate with, it's hard to leverage it. So the number one thing that I tell all small business owners is start building your list.
That's a really good tip. Build it offline in the store at the retail location, but also if you have a website, have a sign-up button.
Yep, you can write in Constant Contacts, a little join my mailing list button that you can, there's a little code there, you create it, you copy it, paste it onto your website, and anybody that signs up there automatically gets added right into your Constant Contact database.
Totally automatic.
Yep.
I love it.
And you can even be notified each time somebody signs up, so if you want to follow up with them, you can get notified on a daily basis if you'd like.
Oh, that's neat. Again, the beginner, somebody who's just coming into email marketing for the first time, what kind of cautions, misconceptions, what would you warn them about? Is there anything you can think of?
Well, a couple of things. When you're building your lists, always think of quality over quantity. Building a list of people that know and trust you is very important in being successful in email marketing. Second is really think about what you want to have happen when you send out your communications. Are you trying to drive repeat business? Are you trying to get your brand out there? Are you trying to create donations for a nonprofit? Because when you know what you're trying to accomplish, then you can start to make decisions like what type of information you need to collect. Do I need just the email address, or if I'm a wine store, should I be collecting that they're interested in Chardonnays or Cabs? That kind of thing. And it also helps you figure out how often you should be sending and what type of communications you should be sending. And at the end of the day, how you're going to measure success. But, walking through that 2-second summary is what we do in great detail at our seminars that are, some of them are hour-long, some of them are 3 hours long, where you can really build a strategy. And in our Learning Center, you can also download a workbook that walks you through all that stuff, including how to write great content, how to get your emails opened, which is another challenge, and all that kind of good stuff.
Well, that's another great point that you just made that I'd like to emphasize. I had a conversation, interviewed David Knorr, Relationship Economics, and his whole idea is to take a look seriously at who your contacts are and assign some kind of a value to them, that it's actually better to put more time into the most valuable contacts than it is to just shotgun approach or just blast emails.
Right, and that's what, another great thing about using an email marketing service like Constant Contact is that you have the ability to see who opened your campaign, who clicked through on a link that was in your campaign. So you get a lot of great data feedback to you of who your most interested clients are. In fact, if you use a forward to a friend link and they use that link and they forward it off to some friends, you can actually see which of your clients are referring you to other people. Now, you can't see who they sent it to, but you can see that they are, and those are the people that you want to be rewarding. And next time they walk in the store, say, "Hey, thanks so much for sending me off to 5 of your friends. Here, why don't I give you a 20% discount on your next order? I really appreciate that." The lifeblood of small business is that referral network, and the ability to have some insight into that is just one of those things that's an invaluable tool.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because too often when we do email campaigns, we forget about the refer a friend or the pass along. It doesn't come to mind, but that's a great way, because again, it gets back to the whole social media concept of trusted network.
Yeah, and another great reason why you want to write really good content or interesting content, because people who receive content, human nature is to want to look very intelligent, and so if you hear or you see something that makes you look smart, you tend to pass it along either in conversation with your friends when you're out Friday night,
Clever.
or by forwarding that message off to others when it comes into your email box. Hey, look what I learned, boom.
That's
and
true.
And that's the way you can drive referral by writing great content. And that's one of the things that we really hone in on when we're doing our seminars, is how to write great content.
And that is great, and that's one of the things that I teach when I do the email, is to make sure that you always have a really strong what's in it for me, that the title, the subject line is the 1.54 seconds that people will look at and determine in that short period of time whether or not they're going to continue to read. And then you got 5 seconds for the first paragraph, again, to make a decision whether they're going to continue to read the rest of the email. And if you lose them at any one of those steps, you've pretty much lost the process.
Yeah, you're right on. I like to say, when you get an email in your inbox, you ask yourself 2 questions. Do I know you? And that's the from line.
Yep.
And do I care? And that's the subject line. So, have fun with that subject line. If you're an accountant, you say 2 tips for being audited by the IRS. Right? Well, I know it's 2 and they're tips, which means they're going to be short. And, how to make sure you get audited by the IRS, well, that's something I really would like to know about.
You got my attention.
So you can have a lot of fun with it, can't
you? Yeah, I like that. That's good. That's a good example, too. And it's pretty basic.
Yeah. Very.
Is there any statistics? Can you share, like how many customers you're currently servicing?
Sure. We've announced that we've crossed over 200,000 customers, paying customers in over 100 different countries around the globe.
Wow.
And growing every day. So having quite a nice growth trajectory, and really enjoying servicing just the small business marketplace, which is, those are the people, if you look at the number of businesses in the United States, 95% of them, I believe, has less than 25 employees, and that's the world in which we live.
72 million small businesses with one employee in the U.S. Is that amazing?
How many?
72 million.
Holy cow.
Yeah, Michael Gerber shared that with me the other day, and I said the same thing. That's a staggering number of small businesses, one employee.
Well, our market opportunity just expanded. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. Geez. Can you think of a success story? Something that one of your customers might have told you about using it and having a success as a result?
Sure. There's a company by the name of Rothman's clothing store in New York City, and probably I've known the owner there for years, and probably about 5 years ago he started building his email list, and started out, he was doing direct mail to try and drive repeat business, and very, very expensive when it's costing you north of $1 per unit to reach out to your existing customers. So I suggested that we start building an email list, and what we did is we actually got what is called his Rothman's Flash email list for his preferred customers, and we put a copy of one of the campaigns at each one of the checkouts with the sign-up book. And why that was really important was in retail, sometimes it's difficult to get great open rates. So to the extent that you can set people's expectations on what they're going to receive at the time that they're signing up for it, they're more likely to open it up and read it. Right. And so we put the sign-up form there right next to the example of the campaign, and over the last 4 or 5 years, his list has grown into north of 4,000 email addresses. And he uses that email campaign to offer special offers to his most valued customers, and as a result of that, it provides not only his customers with a great way to get a great deal from his store, but also provides him with the ability to generate literally tens of thousands of dollars in a given weekend right after he sends a campaign out. And one of the beautiful things about email marketing is that 85% of your response happens within the first 48 hours of when you send that campaign. And so if he needs to move some inventory out in any given weekend, he can create a selling opportunity on Wednesday and have all of that merchandise sold by the end of that weekend. So a very powerful use in a retail example. And, we literally have examples on our website of every industry you can imagine. Wow. Think about it, every industry where you have a customer base or a membership base that you want to communicate with. Well, every nonprofit, every association, religious organization, restaurant, retail, professional consultant, they all have this need. And if people are interested in sort of finding an example just like them, if they go to our website and look on the customer examples, they'll see them. And with 200,000 to pick from, we certainly have a lot of great stories.
That is a great story. I mean, what could anybody in retail ask for that's better than that, sending out a relatively free campaign and generating tens of thousands of dollars in 48 hours? That's awesome.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting to think, though, and we went door to door in Atlanta at one point trying to convince people that they should be doing email marketing. And when we first went down there and were going around, we realized that we weren't getting a great response, and we figured out it was because people didn't have a list. Yeah. And that's where we came up with this little notion of this little retail flip book that you can collect people's email address in and just put right at the checkout. Because if you don't have a list, you can't leverage it. And that is the number one thing that people should be doing. If somebody is in a small business, I think DoubleClick did a study on this, and you ask one of your customers for their email address, 60% of the time they will give you their email address. So if you're not asking, that's an asset that's walking out the door. And that's a really good the crossover between electronic and real life.
You have the person in the store. They're in the store because they trust you. They get to feel the book. It's tangible. Maybe your privacy policy is printed right on the book. And collect the traffic. That's great.
Yep. And, and then start communicating with them.
That's the bottom line.
Exactly.
Is there anything else that you'd like to kind of wrap up, tell our listeners about email, about Constant Contact, kind of summarize what the beginner should go out and do?
Well, Well, I think a lot of it is really recognizing that communication is just a phenomenal way to build trust. And there's nothing more important from a business owner standpoint than building trust with your existing customers. Generates repeat business, generates referrals, and it's not hard to do. You don't have to have technical skills to do it. If you can type in a Word doc, you can create a beautiful looking campaign using one of our templates. You've got help here. They're 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern time. You can call our 800 number and get a customer support rep that'll help you through any problems that you're having. We're really here to make you successful, and we want to make you more successful. And if you do it and you try it, you'll find an immediate response. And it's something that every business should be thinking about, is how do I create a communication strategy with my customers that keeps them coming back.
That's really cool. How can people find out where Constant Contact is?
It's as simple as typing www.constantcontact.com, and there you'll find not only the access to the free trial, but the Learning Center and all of our tools and educational programs.
Totally cool. Thank you so much. I'd really like to thank Eric Groves, the Senior Vice President of Worldwide Strategy and Market Development for Constant Contact, for being with us here today and sharing those incredible insights about email marketing. Truly, thank you so much, Eric, for being here today.
My pleasure, Lon. Thanks for having me on.
And this has been Lon Safko, co-author of the Social Media Bible. Be sure to check out our other valuable social media tactics, tools, and strategies that can be found in the Social Media Bible and our companion website, thesocialmediabible.com. For more information about me, Lon Safko, go to www.lonsafko.com. And again, thank you again for being with us here today. That's really great information.
My pleasure.